Hello and good evening. Thank you for joining me on a Thursday evening. It's just started getting a little bit warmer in London. We've been absolutely plagued with horrendous rain, so very happy it's a little bit sunnier. This webinar, I want to just share with you my kind of story with EMS and how I implemented GPT into my practice. I feel like my story is quite common. I speak to a lot of hygienists on Instagram, and if this helps, just one person to have a better working environment, then that would make me super happy. There will be a question and answers at the end, so keep your questions, write them down, and then fire away. And if a question comes up later on, you can always find me on Instagram or by email. My Instagram is at Laura Smile Club or laurasmileclub@gmail.com. I'm very, very happy to help. So my story, I won't bore you too much, but very briefly, I graduated from Manchester University in 2013, and I loved uni, not only because obviously the social life and freshers, but because of the career that I was learning all about. I loved the whole patient aspect, developing relationships with people, and really just learning all about science and the mouth and how different things affect it. I found it really interesting. So third year came, I'm like, I'm ready to tackle the world. Bring on the calculus of the world. And probably like most people, we go out with this amazing idea of the dental world, and we get hit quite hard with the reality. Now, I worked in NHS practice for, I think it was 2 years, and that was fresh out of university, and that was incredibly hard. I have nothing against the NHS. I think it's a fantastic resource, and we can help so many people because of it. But I just felt like I couldn't give my patients what they deserved, what they needed. And I'd find them coming in, and I'd have half an hour to do really high risk patients. I would maybe remove the supragingival calculus, a little bit of sub, but there'd be no time for oral hygiene advice. I'd take it right to 29 minutes and 20 seconds, and I've got 40 seconds to basically say to them, you need to brush better and use these pokey things, you'll be fine. And unsurprisingly, my patients were coming back and their oral hygiene hadn't improved. It probably got worse, and these patients were suffering. Now, yes, that is my fault, but it's also it's the situational. It's the pressures that we have from the NHS. And I just found myself coming home at night and just sitting there and going, this isn't what I signed up for. And I don't feel good about myself. I don't feel like I feel fulfilled at the end of the day. So I thought, do you know what? I'm sick of this conveyor belt. I'm sick of being a scaling machine, teeth after teeth after teeth after teeth, teeth with no face. I was like, enough. So I just thought, really, is this all that dentistry has to offer me? And I genuinely thought it was. And I thought, do you know what? 5 years, I've probably paid a quarter of my university fees off. We'll move on. So I left dentistry, and it wasn't an easy choice, and I genuinely thought that I would never come back to it. I did keep my GDC registration because I know how hard that is to get back on register, but I left it, and I moved into actually a non-clinical role. And this job had literally no interaction with patients. It was like a lot to do with, the biological part of gum disease and all of that, which was really interesting. But, I miss my patients, and I didn't want to say goodbye, and I just felt a bit down. So I think it was about a year into this new non-clinical role, and I was on Instagram, and, I was scrolling, and I started to see this trend of, dentists and hygienists creating their own brand and, you know, really being seen. And I've always been into marketing and all of that. I've really enjoyed that. And I just thought, this is quite exciting. Like this is going to be big. I think this is going to be the new thing for us dentists and therapists and hygienists on how to market ourselves. And as I was like delving a little bit more into that, I found a video about GPT, or a photo, you know, the classic before disclosing, after. And I thought, what's this? Like, I know disclosing tablets, but yeah, I didn't use them much. So I looked into it and I thought, wow, this could solve all my problems, because it would enable me to communicate better with my patients. It would allow me to work in a practice that understands investment and, you know, really high quality equipment. And it means that I could do better work for my patients. So I thought, okay. I said, challenge accepted. So I went back to my old practice, my principal, and I said, look, will you have me back, please? I know I left, but will you have me back? And, you know, we left on great terms, and he did always say, the job's always there for you. So he had me back, which was fantastic. And I didn't pounce on him straight away. You know, I settled into the job. I think it was 3 months down the line that I was doing all this background research, which I'm going to go through. And then I made my case to him. And, you know, there was some resistance, and I think rightly so. You know, it's a lot of investment, and, you know, it's a whole mindset change. Gone are the days of just a quick scale and polish, you know, calculus being the main baddie. So it is a lot to take in. So I want to show you, really, based on my story and some things that have really helped me on how I implemented GBT, and how I've really just, it's gone berserk, to be honest. I've gone from working 1.5, 2 days a week to kind of 4 full days a week, and we've employed a new hygienist as well. So business is booming, and there's no reason that yours can't too, while also enjoying your clinical time. So where to start? I think nowadays it's a little bit easier to get involved and start with GBT because of social media. You know, it's everywhere. And the people that are on social media, you know, the SDA trainers, the EMS team, they are so lovely and knowledgeable, and they genuinely would give all their time to you to help. So my first thing would is to reach out to one of those and just have a little chat. And any like burning questions you've got, you can speak to them. But the real thing to kind of understand the protocol, because in order for you to sell or, you know, present the idea of GBT and the EMS master unit to the practice owner or principal, you really need to understand everything about it. You need to be ready for any sort of questions. So I went, and also you to figure out whether you actually want to do GBT. You know, it could just be a hype. It's not, but it's important that you actually, you know, you think, do I want to do this? Do I want to change everything about what I do for the better? But is my practice ready for this? So the Ems Hands-On course, there is a theory course as well, but the one which is combined, I found amazing. That was actually the first thing that I did. I booked on, it was with Faye, Donald, and Juliet Reeves. No, not Juliet Reeves, Christina Chatfield, down at the Brighton Health Spa. That's where it was, by the sea. And went down there. We did half a morning of theory, which I just found it so interesting. There was so many things about biofilm and periodontal management and communication that I didn't know. And the GBT side of things aside, I learned so much. So we kind of did that first. And then we started to learn about the powders and, you know, the classic powder versus the plus powder, the fact it's erythritol and it protects implants, you know, your principal is going to love you. So we learned all of that, and then we got to do the hands-on, which was really good because you can just, you know, you've seen it on Instagram, you can feel how it feels to remove that biofilm, which is 10 times more satisfying than watching it, because when you watch it and you do it, it's like, So yeah, definitely do the hands-on course. Use the PAs on as well. And recommend when you get the master unit that you get the dual one, because it makes the whole experience painless. So try that. That is where I would start with. So then you get a really good understanding of exactly what GBT is and how it feels to operate GBT in a patient's mouth. Next, I would watch webinars like this. So hopefully you'll take away something from tonight. But if you do have more questions, then the EMS Dental UK Instagram are constantly posting and doing live Instagrams to talk about questions that are quite commonly asked. For example, the PA's on, how is the change from ultrasonic, things like that. And I think even me now, having done this for 18 months, 2 years, I still learn loads from that page and from the colleagues that are using GBT. So definitely join their Instagram and watch their webinars and Instagram lives. There's also a really fantastic support group on Facebook for all GBT users around the world, actually, so it's quite good to connect with people. And I would say this is probably more useful for you if you've got the master unit and you just have more questions about powder usage or anything like that, clinical stuff, or marketing, actually. And then the final thing, which I think I didn't do it, and I think I should have really, is to go and get a GBT clean yourself. Because I think we as dental professionals, we're quite guilty of, yes, we're empathetic, but unless you understand exactly how it feels, it's really hard to be empathetic towards your patient and to potentially minimize discomfort if there was going to be any. So I think I wish I'd gone to get a GBT and experienced, had the obfuscate placed, understanding that, sometimes for some people it can be a little bit tender up here after long periods. So understanding that, and then you can then control those factors. So come and see me. I'm happy to give, you a discount, but, one of the GBT people, go and see them and just get a clean and, really feel the experience for yourself. Obviously, the clinical side of things, is really important to know that. And, that is one of the key benefits for introducing GBT. But the other benefit, which I think sometimes we feel a bit like worried to start talking about money and finances, because we do care about, the patient, and the patient's best interest is always at the heart of things. But we can't forget that, dentistry is a business, and we have to break even, we have to make a profit, but we have to at least break even. So understanding your finances and how everything interacts with each other, and how you figure out how much you charge, is really, really important, especially when you're introducing or trying to present to a principal or an owner of a practice or chain. So what I did is I figured out the cost of operating my surgery and the practice's surgery. And how you do that is basically you look at the gross revenue of the practice that you're working at, if they let you have access to that. If not, just go onto reports on Exact and you can figure out. Go onto that, find the gross revenue, and then minus the profit, and then divide it by the number of days worked per year. So that would be, how many days is that surgery open, not necessarily how many days that you are working there, but how many days that surgery is open for business. And then once you've got that number, that's Y. And then Y divided by the number of operating surgeries. So if you've got 2, you divide it by 2. And that will give you your daily rate of how much it costs the owner or the principal to run that room. So it takes into account the nurse, materials, lighting, heating, aircon, the Netflix subscription, all those things. And then once you get that baseline, you can figure out, how many patients can I see in that day? Hopefully fallow time will be gone soon. I have to think about that. But how many patients can I see in a day? how much do I then have to charge to get to that price? And then how much do I have to charge to make a profit? If you do all this and then you literally figure out it's all clear, your principal will just be like, okay, done, because to a lot of business owners, finances really are the things that are a deal breaker. So yeah, if you need any help with that, just let me know. The other thing, which would probably be even easier, is use the Ems Finance Calculator. And it's a really, really good tool. They have it on their website. There's a little link there that you can look at. And this can be used to basically, as I said, you figure out how much, how long it's going to take for the machine to pay for itself. That's not necessarily the hourly rate of how much you should charge, but this will tell you how long it's going to take for you to pay. So you could say to your principal, it's going to take 6 months to pay off the machine, and then we're making a profit. So that's really good to know. There's also that calculator in one of the EMS resources, which I've popped here because it's really fantastic. It's a support guide to introducing GBT into your practice. And it actually has quite a few principal and practice owners in there. For example, Rona Esconda and Simon Chard. And that can be quite a good tool to show your principal practice owner, because if they're seeing that it's not just hygienists, therapists that are championing it, it's also practice owners and they understand everything to do with the business, then that can be a really good turning point. And it has quite a few good tips in there. I'm in there. So, but you'll know everything after this anyway. The other thing I would say as well is, if you are struggling with any of that stuff, or you just, you want a little bit more armor to your argument, then EMS can come. I think they were doing Zoom calls. I'm not sure if they still are, but the UK team, they will come in and have a conversation with you and your principal to discuss anything and, really get your principal on board. So that can be super useful. I didn't actually know about any of these resources when I introduced it, and I wish I had. It would have been so much easier. So you've done everything that you could possibly do to know everything about GBT. So whatever you're asked, you just know it. Okay, finances, numbers, bam bam. You could go on Dragon's Den and you could sell GBT. So you've got that. You've got your practice owner in a room with a meeting, and you do a little presentation. I love a presentation. So this is what I did with my practice owner. I sat down and I just presented it, and he was really impressed, and he took it away and kind of digested everything. And I think that's important. There isn't any pressure or rush. They are completely investing in it. And hopefully, because you've done all that research and you've got the EMS team involved, it's just a matter of, waiting for the master unit to be delivered. But look, if you're still struggling and you're getting resistance, and, the practice doesn't have the ethos that you would like, but you don't want to move, there is the option potentially of you buying your own EMS master. It's an amazing investment. I'm pretty sure it's a material cost, so it can be somehow done with tax. Don't quote me on that. And you can do all sorts of finance options and all of that. And, if that practice isn't budging, you could say to them, look, okay, I am going to invest in this machine because I believe in it. But if you want me to continue operating with the GBT protocol, I would want to increase my percentage take home, of 5% or whatever. So if you're 35, you'll go up to 40. But you need to figure out how that's going to work in terms of you getting your money, your return on investment for your machine. So that's one option. Or find a practice who will embrace your GBT, and, they might even pay your percentage, and then they'll rent the GBT machine for those days that you're in, and then you can go to another practice and take it, and you can just be this walking GBT magician. So that's an option for sure. So, don't feel like if you can't get through to your principal that's the end of the road, because that will be a miserable life of hygiene, trust me. Okay, we're going to think positively. You've got your practice owner on board and you're like, yes, and your EMS master unit has been ordered and you're just patiently waiting and you're counting down the days until you don't have to use an ultrasonic, fumbling around looking for biofilm that you can't see, right? Okay, so it's coming. Get the whole team on board. We really want to hit the ground running. We want to absolutely smash it as soon as the master arrives. So what you want to do is gather your team and do a little lunch and learn. You don't have to buy them lunch, they can have their own lunch, but get them all round together. And just how you presented it to your the practice owner, just really share with the team why it means so much to you and how it's going to change your life and how it's going to change the patient's life. And just explain the clinical differences and all of that. It's really important that the whole team understand the reasons for GBT and the importance of it, because if you have anybody that, you know, is a loose chain or doesn't understand it fully, patients will pick up on that. So it's really important. I'd also get one of the EMS guys in to do like a demo hands-on to show you, you know, how to look after your machine, how to change the powders, you know, angulation, just extra stuff that is going to really help, you know, any teething problems that you might have at the beginning. This is the biggest one, and you'll get such big kudos from the team as well. You know, treat your staff and your colleagues and your friends to GBT. Don't charge them. Like, you know, my nurses, they get it free of charge. You know, why wouldn't they? They're fantastic. They support me, and, you know, it doesn't really cost much. You know, if a patient doesn't turn up, I'll just get them in the chair and just do GBT. So get them to experience it. And what you'll find is, particularly for the front of house team, the receptionists, that they'll be on the phone to a new patient and, you know, the patient will be asking about GBT. And rather than using, you know, GBT as a protocol and, you know, you disclose, we check for this, blah, blah. Rather than being like that, they become so much more emotive because they've had the treatment. You know, they can translate and, you know, communicate to the patient a lot better. They'll say stuff like, oh, it's fantastic, like my teeth felt so clean and it was the gentlest hygiene I've ever had. Yeah, I know, I've had it, definitely. And you see this shift, and that's when you'll start getting patients booking in, you know, at the first contact. So front of house staff, really important. They've experienced it, really important, and they understand, you know, the different steps, and they can explain that to patients on the phone. I'd also say you need to have a blanket approach. I just don't think, I'm yet to see a practice where they've introduced GBT, but it's like an added extra. It's like, oh, scale and polish, but if you want to upgrade, you know, you can have a GBT, but it's X amount. Because I just think it undermines the whole ethos and protocol of GBT, because GBT is the gold standard. It's better cleaning, it's more visibility of biofilm, it's better communication, it's pain-free. Why, if you know all of that and you understand the links between systemic and you're shouting about it, why would you offer a patient something that's less? Now, I'm not saying that, you know, you can't achieve a just as good result with an ultrasonic and a hand scaler, but I personally know that my results are far greater with the EMS master. So make sure that all appointments going forward are GBT. They're GBT. No, sorry, we don't do the old method of scale and polish. We are going forward GBT. Patients won't have a problem, trust me. I didn't have one single patient complain when we changed, especially once they had experienced it. So how do you introduce it to your patients? Definitely tell patients before they come in. You don't want a situation when a patient comes in, they come to your room and you spring it on them that they're having a new treatment and potentially there's a price change. Some patients like to research stuff about it, and, you know, they want to feel comfortable and, you know, that you're communicating well with them. So what we did was we sent a newsletter via email, and it did go into quite a lot of detail about, you know, the research and the link between systemic. but it also focused on a lot of positive words like our investment, the fact that it's really preventative. We're investing in, looking after your teeth. And actually, I think what we our tagline, our subject was interested in less fillings and gum disease or whatever, because we know that without bacteria, without biofilm, there is no dental decay, there is no gum disease. So, and we kind of linked that in, and we got really good feedback for that, because patients thought, okay, so by doing this, I could potentially save money in the future and save teeth or save my bone from gum disease. So that was really, really good. And use words like world leading. This has come from Switzerland. I like to say, like, we stole it from the Swiss, which is quite funny. And it's just, it's just a bit of fun. Switzerland are renowned for, fantastic clinical, pioneering stuff. So use stuff like that for sure. And, it means that also patients can do their own research outside of your appointment. I've already talked about, introducing GPT to your patients before, just so they're aware of the change. This is something that I did. Now, I'm not suggesting that you don't have to do this to make GPT work. In fact, I don't know anyone else that's done this. Now, I don't know if that's a bad thing, or maybe I'm going to start a trend. Who knows? But when I introduced GPT, I wanted to completely change the way that my hygiene appointments worked, because I used to find that, say I had a 30-minute hygiene appointment, I would say I took, half an hour, to be fair, I would go all the way up to 30 minutes. But let's say it's a 45-minute appointment. Let's say I did 38 minutes. God forbid, I left 6 minutes at the end. And the patient goes out and they look at their watch and they go, I don't want to pay for 45 minutes. I want to pay for 30 minutes, And it's like, well, it doesn't work like that, Just because I've taken less time than you originally booked in, that just means that I've slaved away harder, not because you've had any less of a treatment. So I just wanted to stop the clock watchers and make the patient take responsibility of their oral health. So I actually split my GPT appointments into 3. And I've also got a new patient GPT, but that's basically a comprehensive. It's the same as comprehensive. So I've got GPT, which is a maintenance GPT. I tell the patients anywhere between 20 and 30 minutes. Okay, so if they've got absolutely no biofilm, I buzz through it. They go out after 20 minutes and have a cup of tea, and I pat myself on the back, and everyone's happy. Okay, if they're just maintenance, it's all good. Soft biofilm, excellent. If it's a lot of biofilm, and I feel that the patient needs a little bit more engagement with their oral hygiene, they need some more help with how to angle their brush, maybe resizing TP brushes, maybe they've got a lot of staining, we need to use the classic powder, or they've got a lot of tenacious calculus, then it's going to be enhanced, and that's going to be anywhere between 30 to 45 minutes. I know it might take it all the way up to 45 minutes, it might be 35 minutes. And, I'll say to them, if you continue to, miss these areas, and this has got this bleeding site, you're going to be on an enhanced schedule, for the foreseeable future. If things improve, we can move you down to maintenance. And they think, okay, so I'm like, I want to get down to the, the quick one, because that means I'm doing well. So it motivates them. And then you've got a comprehensive, and this is, patients that have, they've got gum disease, but it's in remission, or they're a new patient. I need to do potentially x-rays, 6-point pocket chart. They've got loads of staining, loads of subgingival calculus, and they need a lot of oral hygiene advice. So that's how I split it up. It might not work for every practice, but it's worked absolute wonders for me for patients to really take on board their responsibility for their oral health and stop the clock watchers. I don't like them. When you introduce GPT to patients, because I've used GPT and I've used guided biofilm therapy. Now when you say, today we're doing guided biofilm therapy, do you have any questions? Blah, blah, they just go like this, they go, what? what is that like? And they seem a bit like confused, and it does sound ridiculous unless you're a clinical person, but GBT sounds a bit more I don't know, with the kids. So you need to use layman terms. Obviously we want patients to understand what biofilm is, and it's really important that we communicate that to patients, but we don't want them to get bogged down with, subgingival calculus, loss of periodontal attachment. We want to use stuff like the no pain Piazon with warm water. It reduces sensitivity. It only vibrates on the tooth when it hits a piece of hard calculus, so it's not constantly rattling on your teeth. Using the fact that airflow, we use erythritol powder. It's really fine, really, really gentle. It's not going to, ruin your composite bonding that you've just had. It's not going to degrade your titanium implants. And it means that we can flush out, under that bridge, that all on four. You won't have the same experience if we were to use other methods. So really using layman terms will definitely get through to the patient a lot more than getting bogged down with really clinical stuff. In-house marketing. So I think more people need to use the EMS posters because they're so visual, and the branding's really, really strong, and they have some amazing posters on the systemic links, and I think that can be such a good time for patients to read about it, and they might come in with questions for you, and it will open up a conversation. I don't feel scared about talking to patients about the systemic risks like erectile dysfunction. I think it can be quite scary the first time you talk about it, but that patient deserves to know that they are potentially at risk from things like erectile dysfunction or Alzheimer's or cardiovascular disease, pancreatic cancer. The more information that you can give them, the more they're going to feel like you care, and you're trying to prevent really serious things from happening. So having the posters in reception, maybe on your surgery wall, is a really good way to bring up conversations. But it's also a really good way to market to patients, because there's a lot of patients in my practice, that maybe they've had Invisalign and they have a hygienist somewhere else and they're not seeing me. Obviously once they see me, they're like, I'm staying here. But when they start reading about it, then it makes them want to try the treatment. So that's a really good way to get patients that are already in the surgery. So you've got GBT going, it's going pretty well, but you really want to build momentum. You want to show the practice owner that you are absolutely killing it, you're smashing it, and patients are happy, you're happy. He can buy a new Mercedes-Benz soon, whatever. Mercedes-Benz, I don't know why that came out. Ferrari, whatever, you guys buy at the moment. But you want to build momentum. And one of the biggest things that I have found to do this is Google reviews. Google reviews, I don't know about you, but when I go on to find like a restaurant or a doggy grooming place, I feel like I've said that because I literally yesterday took my dog to get groomed. You go onto Google and you look at the reviews, and you do take time looking through them, and you can tell when there's some 5-star ones that potentially have just been written, but when you read and you see genuine, quite long ones and really detailed, then you think, okay, yeah, this is worth a try. So I think the biggest thing with Google reviews is listening to your patient. So if you, for example, have had a new patient and they've said stuff like, oh wow, didn't feel a thing, or I can't believe I fell asleep just then, which has happened quite a few times, or really, that was fantastic, my teeth feel really, really, really good, Laura. You need to capitalize that, with that feeling that they have. You need to say, oh, I'm so glad that you feel like that. Would you mind putting that in a Google review? Because that really helps us reach other clients. And I'd be really grateful. But ask them then. Don't send them a link the next day, because their emotions right after that appointment are right up here, and they're excited about it. That it's brand new, and it diminishes hour by hour that they haven't filled out that Google review. So you really want to capitalize on that straight away. Even get reception with a little iPad that they can log into their Google and do it in the practice. The only thing I would say with that is that Google can figure out that you are on site and you're doing a Google review, and it doesn't necessarily always like that. So get them to do it potentially on their phone, or maybe log off the Wi-Fi or something like that. I haven't figured that out yet. But also the other thing with links is if you send them a Google review link, you need to tell them to type into Google your business. Don't just send them a link to click on, because Google will know that it's come from a link. I feel like there could be a whole webinar on Google reviews. Referring a friend. So I always say to my patients, especially the nice ones, I really love treating you. Do you have any friends that potentially would benefit from seeing me? We want more people like you. And they feel really flattered by that. So they do refer friends. So I think that's a great way of getting, like-minded, lovely patients through your door. Social media. Now, social media is absolutely huge. It's massive. Let me just get this up. Oh, not sure what just happened there. Let me get my pop-up up. Social media. So social media is absolutely huge in dentistry, and especially with GBT. So I love social media. If you follow me, then you'll know that I'm a bit weird in the way that I do social media. I like to, be a bit of a joker, as well as educate the public. So you can do whatever style you like, but you have to be on social media if you want to, advertise GBT. The kind of stuff that works really, really well is those before and after images. So, including the disclosing, because it's really visual, and patients, are interested in that, and they'll have a look and they'll say, oh, what's this? And they'll see that, the before and after of the staining, and be like, okay, I want my teeth to be as white as that. So definitely before and afters, and video time lapses. So this is something I've been doing recently, and I just got this little dongle that it went on the top of my light, and it just filmed the whole procedure, and I just sped it up afterwards. And it's really, really good for patients to almost, especially nervous patients, because I get a lot of nervous patients. They want to know exactly what's going to happen when they come in. And I think by seeing the process and, seeing that there's not needles, there's not sharp things, they can start to kind of think about it and take it on board before they come in. And it really, really helps for those patients. I would definitely market GBT, for anxious patients and nervous patients. It's such a good option for them, and you will get a lot of loyal, wonderful patients because of GBT, for sure. Behind the scenes and stuff as well is really great. Patients love stories. The EMS Master Machine is such a beautiful piece of kit. You can do so much with it. So there's never ending stuff with social media, to be honest. The other thing that can work really, really well, especially if you're trying to, grow and get more local people to come to your practice, is using social media influencers. Now, I don't mean, influencers that have got millions and millions of followers. And you want people that are genuine. You want people that are similar to your target audience. So if you want to see 25-somethings to 30-year-olds, you want to basically find someone that's like that and has followers similar to that. And you really want to be looking kind of the 5K to 10K mark. You don't really want to be going much higher, because the engagement rate drops. And actually, you tend to find that they're not as open to promoting you as much. So I would look for kind of maybe even 3K and someone local. You can use some really, really good tools like the Flanks engagement calculator to basically find out how genuine a social media account is, because the last thing you want to do is give away free treatment and they do a post but actually it only reaches a couple hundred people rather than thousands. So all you do is you go on there, you put in the handle, social media handle, and it analyzes it and it tells you exactly how much percentage engagement they get from their followers. So the average is 1 to 3%. So mine's 3.10, it's slightly higher, and you want to be looking for 3% up for someone you're paying or giving free treatment to. Get someone in professionally, so like a videographer. Instagram, you can use all sorts of photos, but professional cinematography can be really, really good at getting people's attention, especially if you're going to do paid advertising and you're going to promote posts. So I would get maybe even work with like a local videographer in exchange for free GBT. They'll do some filming for you. That can be quite good, and like split it up into little bite-sized pieces, so you can just put it every 3 posts on your page and you start getting some consistency. I think probably the biggest underutilized tool in dentistry is disclosing, especially for hygiene. And I'm not talking just for clinical, because we obviously know how amazing it is for clinical, because it means we can physically see the biofilm and the maturity levels. But I'm talking more as like a business builder and to increase your turnover. And it's simply because it increases your communication with your patient. So I don't know about you, but previously, before GBT, I really struggled communicating with my patients. I'd have the same patients, that came in for 6 monthly hygienes, and it just carried on. It was this cycle. And I never felt like we ever got anywhere, to be honest. I felt like we were chasing our tail and we were treating inflammation and disease rather than preventing it. And it was very frustrating. And no matter what I tried, no matter how many times I told the patient, you've got inflammation here, blah, 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 they didn't understand. And it's not their fault. It was obviously my communication. But it's really hard to communicate to a patient, especially visual learners, without being able to show them physically what is causing the disease. Because if there's no calculus there, but there is biofilm, how do you show that patient? It's very, very hard. So by disclosing and physically showing these patients, these visual learners, they were able to identify a cause for the inflammation and the risks associated with that. So when they saw that, I could communicate really, really easily that I need to be seeing them, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. And from that day that I started disclosing, I didn't have any problem with patients coming back sooner. And if you think about that, if I convert 6 monthly recall patients into 3 monthly recall patients, I've doubled my turnover for the year, because that's double the amount of appointments. And I know it's not about the finance side of things, but why can it not be a great benefit while also helping and preventing your patient's gum disease? So I think this can be probably the biggest tool for increasing your turnover with GBT, is disclosing. Don't, forget about it. And external marketing. So EMS, they're just constantly developing and, moving forward, and they've got so many exciting things coming, one of which is this GBT, online search. And they're going to have a website where if you are interested in GBT as a patient, you can find your local provider. And patients are asking for GBT now. They are actively looking online. They are contacting EMS and they want it. It's going to become the norm, I think. And I think if you don't get on board, you will be left behind, to be honest. And I think if you get in now, you will be cemented as the GBT provider in your area if you get one very soon. So I think definitely connect with them on Instagram, and as soon as this website's up and running, get your name on it for sure. Finally, GBT and me. Definitely GBT has completely changed my life, and I'm not just saying my clinical life, because I used to come home tired, back aching, miserable. And now I get really excited to go into work, and I come back happy, fulfilled, healthier, and so much more motivated. So genuinely, and this is why I'm doing this webinar, it's because I really, really believe in this system. and I want to share it with as many people as possible. And I hope that this webinar has been the beginning of your journey with GBT and EMS, and I promise you, once you start doing GBT, you will not look back. There's no chance. You'll be like me. You'll be literally telling everyone about it. So thank you for listening. Thank you for giving up your time. If I haven't covered something that you would be interested in knowing more about, then you can always contact me, as I said, on Instagram or email. But we will have a little question and answers now, and I'd love to take some of your questions. Oh, okay. Hi, guys. So thank you everyone for listening, and for sending in your questions. I just had a little read of them all. So some of them are quite similar. So I'll just start with probably the most common one. Quite a few of you have asked about the EMS Handy and how it compares to ultrasonic and the new master unit. So one person has commented that she's finding EMS Handy, it doesn't remove stain as much as she thinks she could do with the ultrasonic and hand instruments. And is the master unit really any better? I can't really explain it. It is so much better. Staining that would take me, a lot of muscle and quite abrasive polishes is no effort at all with the master unit. Literally you just run the airflow over and it lifts off, and there's no abrasivity onto on the tooth, and it is the most minimally invasive way to remove staining for sure. So you cannot compare the EMS Handy with the master unit. You just have to try the master unit and then you'll believe me. So I've got a question about seeing patients direct access. And do you know what? I'm probably seeing about 50 to 60% patients direct access at the moment, because I'm getting a lot of patients through Instagram and through Google ads and all of that. And to be honest, it shouldn't be something to be scared of. What I do is I book them in for an hour, so they're seen for a comprehensive GBT. And, if they do have pocketing or gum disease, I will prescribe and report on the x-rays. So I'll do all of that, and I'll actually create them a treatment plan of my own accord about what treatment they need. And at that first appointment, if they do have gum disease, what I'll do is I'll really, really focus on the biofilm, the oral hygiene instruction. I won't really do much debridement. I might do a bit of supra, and then I'll see them over the course of, the next 3 to 6 months. Yes, obviously, I want them to see the dentist, because multidisciplinary the approach is vital. But a lot of patients, they do have their own dentist. They just want to come and see me. So definitely, even if they're not registered with your practice, you can still make GBT work. And actually, you will find when you introduce GBT that you're going to get loads of direct access patients, because they're going to be searching for you, and they'll tell all their friends. So definitely get that in place. In terms of, so I've got a little question about the social media consent, because, and this is actually really important, because we don't want to be putting up, photos, videos, pictures of patients unless they're consenting. So the way I do it is I actually, when they first come in for their first appointment, they have obviously their medical history forms, they have a smile evaluation form, which I like them to fill out. And as part of that welcome registration pack, they have to also fill out a social media consent. Now, whether that's them ticking no, I'm not interested, or them ticking, yeah, you can share my teeth, but not my face. It just means it's all sorted before the appointment, and usually that gets updated with their medical history, because I'm not going to assume that my patient at the age of 20 wants their teeth continue shed until they're 50. So it's just about updating that, and it just also takes away the awkwardness of, say, you want to take photos or you want to see their reaction after them seeing their new smile. You don't have to say, do you mind if I put it on my social media? Whatever. You just get your phone out or your camera out, whatever you're using, and it's just seamless. So that's the way I do it. It's much more streamlined. Optragate. So do you always use an Optigate? I found some patients do not care for them. Do you know what? I have heard this quite a lot, but I don't seem to have any problems. I think you need to go for the correct size. So 99% of my patients are a size small. And patients that have quite a wide smile or a little bit older with less collagen, so that they have a bit more less resistance, I go for a regular. I think if you get the size right, and you know it's not in there for hours, I haven't actually had any patients have any problems. I do use an Optigate for every single patient, and it's purely because my field of vision is just 10 times better. I can see literally everything. I can angle my mirror. I'm not saying that you can't do it without the Optigate, but for me, I feel like I do a far better job. And also, you know, I can protect the buccal, the saliva gland, the parotid with my mirror. I can see it really, really clearly. So that's really important. And also with aerosols, you know, COVID, it hugely reduces it. You know, we have the patient bib on and there won't be a single drop of water or anything or saliva on their bib. So the aerosols is zero. So Optigate, I think, is a must for it. How do you deal with powder and fluid during air washing? Okay, yeah, so this is okay. So Optigate, that's number one. Second thing to help deal with the powder and the fluid is the correct angulation. So if you've got the tooth here, you want to be angling at 45 degrees and the suction will be here. So it's almost bouncing off there and going straight into the high volume. So all my nurses, I train exactly how to suction. We always have the small suction in the back as well, collecting the excess, and then the big suction follows me around. And as I said, I don't really get any spatter. If you go on my Instagram, you'll see the videos and you'll see that there's no spatter. Is there any scientific evidence that these dust can become harmful to us operators in the long run? I'm definitely not qualified to answer this, but what I would say is I'm pretty sure erythritol is water soluble, so there is no problem there. But I will stand corrected if not. There's so many questions. We have 5 hygienists and cannot buy multiple units yet. Any tips on how to make this a smooth transition without confusing patients? Okay, so this is quite good. So what you could do is say that, you know, you're really excited about this, you're going to do a trial with GBT, and then you're going to be eventually introducing it everywhere. And you could just have one hygienist that does GBT, and then you can see how the patients are reacting to it. If suddenly everyone wants to see this new hygienist, then you're just going to have to buy 5 EMS units. The other thing you can do is, you can cart the GBT machine between rooms. You can buy this really easy portable cart. It's fantastic. So definitely recommend that. How much hand scaling are you doing compared to it before? Literally, I mean, just chuck that hand scaler in the bin. Nothing. Okay, tiny amounts. But, hand scaling, as we know, can be quite aggressive to the enamel over time. So where I can, I completely avoid it. And with the EMS master and the PAs on, there is 99% of the time I'm not using hand scalers. So hardly ever really. I'm new with PAs on. I've started using the master unit 2 weeks ago. I love the airflow, but patients are jumping with piezo and I'm getting a lot of high-pitched squealing. Are you treating piglets? I'm finding it difficult to remove calculus. I know it's a learning curve. Are there courses online for piezo? Great question. The PAs is on. I can never say that right. It is a learning curve, okay? It is different to ultrasonic, but once you get the hang of it, you will never go back to ultrasonic because you don't get that cramp in your thumb because you don't need the pressure. What I would say is it sounds like, you're not getting the angulation right, and you need to be using the sides and not the tip. It's quite different. EMS have a fantastic training tool. It's like a little test tube and it has a white coating, and you can basically train to use it without causing any noise. So you'll hear when you're using it the wrong angulation. So get onto EMS to order that. That's really, really good. Can a patient undergo GBT treatment biannually? Yeah, 100%. I tend to see my patients kind of every 3 to 4 months, and that's simply because based on the evidence, bacteria, biofilm, it reaches maturity at 60 to 90 days. So we know that, if there is areas that patients are missing, then somewhere around that time, there's going to start being inflammation produced. So I tend to like to get there before that happens. So yeah, so biannually for sure, but I think it's probably better every kind of 3 to 4 months, but every patient is kind of personalized. Any more? I'm curious as to the contraindications. So EMS have a really great, I think it's online, and a booklet talking about all the contraindications to all the powders. So, really active, severe asthma, you can't use certain powders. So I suggest you either go on the website or you follow up with one of the EMS reps. That will really help with that. How much time do you allow for the comprehensive GBT? Yeah, so that's the hour, that's the 60 minutes. You might not be able to answer a ballpark figure for how much the master costs. Yeah, I'm really sorry, I can't help you with that because it will completely vary to do with the country. And what I would do is contact your rep. They'll be able to help you within a couple hours and give you a price. Work. Yes, it will be possible to save this lecture. This is going to be permanently on the STA website, so you can watch it multiple times if you want. So yeah, don't worry if you need to catch up on anything. Working with GBT delivers you a big advantage. It has warm water. Yes, 100%. It's a lot better than EMS Handy. Yes, so actually, that's one thing I didn't mention earlier. The EMS Handy does not have the warm water. The warm water is an absolute game changer. So yeah, you can't compare it, to be honest. The cost of, I think, how do you communicate the knowledge to other hygienists in a positive way? I would say stuff like, having the lunch and learns and, connecting outside of work and, creating a WhatsApp group, a clinical WhatsApp group, and you can discuss stuff and any problems you have that can really help. But I think it is really, really important for hygienists that work together to, work in a similar way. So any hygienists that work with me, so the new one we've just taken on, she's absolutely lovely. She came and I did a GBT on her just so that she understood the workflow, the patient journey, the experience. And the other thing is I can pick up things from her. She could say, oh, I do it this way, and I'm learning as well, because everyone can offer something. Everyone has different ways of working, and I think it's really important that everyone that works together, especially when there's multiple hygienists, are on the same level and they're delivering the same message. So I think that's really, really important. How did you change your pricing as you introduced it? But yeah, so I put what the prices were. So depends on where you are, obviously, in the world, but we did have hygiene for £59 for half an hour. And then I think it was £88.50, just to make it awkward, for 45 minutes, and 118 for an hour. So we increased the 30 minutes to 75, so over £10, over £15. So we did increase it quite a lot. And, I think you can be bold with the price increase, because once the patients experience it, they're not going to complain about the price. I promise you that it's worth so much more than the money they're paying, because they're getting a comfortable clean. They're feeling, they're not feeling anxious, and they can feel the results. So yeah, be bold with your pricing, do your calculations and stick by it. And I promise you won't have any problems. Using GBT in itself causes some people anxiety and others have heightened discomfort with any stimulation. So yes, but personally, even patients where I've got, 7 millimeters of recession, which is quite a lot, and have had sensitivity to ultrasonic, have zero problems with the PAs on. And I do joke about this because when I first started using PAs on, I would sit there in patients that had previous gums and they have loads of recession, and I'd be so tense because I was just waiting for the patient to go, how the questioner earlier was saying, they squeal, and I was just so nervous. And then I quickly realised that it doesn't happen. If you use it in the right way and you've got the warm water, the PA's on is amazing. And those patients that previously had traumatic experiences and, you know, it caused heightened tooth sensitivity, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And it will surprise you, but I have no worries about going anywhere. I go into furcation areas, all of that, and there's no numbing. I only really numb when I do really deep non-surgical perio. I never, ever numb up on a normal appointment. So I guess that speaks. And if you look at all my reviews, it will say pain-free, you know, fell asleep or whatever. So you can definitely do it. Cool, guys. I think we... Oh, how do you find out how your local rep is? I'm pretty sure if you message the EMS Dental UK Instagram, they will put you in contact with your local rep. That's what I would do. Cool, guys. I think we're done. Thank you so much for staying with me on a Thursday evening, and for your lovely questions. As I said, I'm always available to contact, and I really look forward to seeing your journey.